I must admit, the first time that I read the script and I got to that part, I said, no, this must be just like a little joke.
In the 80s, you couldn't escape her. That smile, those eyes, that unforgettable poolside moment and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. She was everywhere. Then suddenly, she wasn't. No scandal broke, no headlines exploded, no dramatic farewell tour. Just silence. At the very peak of her career, Phoebe Cates quietly walked away from Hollywood. And just like that, she was gone. For decades, fans have asked the same question. Why would someone leave when everything was finally working? Today, we're digging deeper. This is what really happened to Phoebe Cates. Before the fame, there was New York. Before the spotlight, there was family. Born on July 16, 1963 in New York City, Phoebe Belle Cates entered a world already tied to show business. Entertainment wasn't a dream, it was her reality. Her father, Joseph Cates, was a Broadway producer and early television pioneer. He even helped create the hit game show The $64,000 Question. Her uncle, Gilbert Cates, built a career directing and producing. Later, he would go on to produce multiple Academy Award ceremonies. Show business surrounded her. It was simply in her blood. Growing up in New York during the 60s and 70s, Phoebe was immersed in art and creativity. The city itself felt like a stage. She attended Miss Hewitt's school. Then she moved on to the Professional Children's School, a place known for shaping young performers. These weren't ordinary classrooms, they were launching pads. Even at a young age, Phoebe stood out, not loudly, effortlessly. She carried a natural elegance and a quiet intelligence that people noticed immediately. Teachers saw potential. Peers saw star quality. But acting wasn't her first dream, not even close. Her heart belonged somewhere else. It belonged to dance. At just 10 years old, she set her sights high, higher than most kids would dare. She enrolled at Juilliard, one of the most prestigious performing arts schools in the world, a place where only the serious survive. For 3.5 demanding years, she trained relentlessly. Blisters, rehearsals, discipline, repetition. Every day was work. Every step moved her closer to the stage. At that point, Hollywood wasn't even the goal. Her dream was simple: dance professionally and never look back. But life had other plans, and everything was about to change. The training wasn't casual, it was brutal. The discipline was relentless. The competition, even worse. But Phoebe didn't fold under pressure. She thrived in it. Dance gave her more than technique. It gave her control, confidence, and purpose. She learned how to tell stories without words, how to move with intention, how to command a stage with nothing but her body, how to dedicate herself completely to a craft. Those lessons would stay with her for life. They shaped everything that followed. Then, without warning, everything stopped. One injury changed it all. A damaged knee ended her dancing dreams before they truly began. Just like that, the future she imagined disappeared. At only 13 years old, Phoebe hit a crossroads most adults fear: start over or give up. For a kid that young, it must have been crushing. Dance wasn't just something she did, it was who she was. It was her identity, her escape, her path forward. And suddenly that path was gone. That's when something unexpected stepped in: modeling. With her striking features and effortless camera presence, doors opened almost immediately. The industry noticed fast. By 14, she wasn't just dabbling, she was working constantly. 4 covers of 17 magazine, spreads in Elle, British Vogue, and Andy Warhol's Interview. Editors wanted her, photographers fought for her. Her look hit a sweet spot, girl-next-door warmth mixed with quiet sophistication. From the outside, it looked perfect, like she'd found her next big thing. But looks can lie, and success can feel empty. On paper, modeling made sense. In her heart, it didn't. Phoebe later admitted the truth. She was bored. The poses repeated, the days blurred together. Nothing challenged her, nothing stretched her. She told People magazine the work didn't teach her anything. After a while, she said, she was only doing it for the money. And that wasn't enough, not for someone wired like her. She missed the discipline. She missed the growth. She missed feeling tested, the way dance once tested her. Modeling paid the bills, but it didn't feed her soul. Then came the moment that changed everything. A single night, a single party, Studio 54. There, she met a film agent, and suddenly Hollywood was calling. Soon after, her first movie offer arrived, a lead role. The film was Paradise, released in 1982, a project clearly chasing the success of The Blue Lagoon. But there was a catch. The role required nudity. At 17, Phoebe hesitated. Anyone would. She asked her father what to do. His answer was blunt and practical. How can you turn down a lead in a feature film? To him, it was obvious. So she said yes, and flew to Israel to shoot from March to May 1981. The result wasn't what she hoped, not even close. Paradise flopped with critics, and years later she openly regretted it. She claimed producers used a body double without telling her. That betrayal stung. She refused to promote the film. She wanted distance. Her co-star Willie Ames later said she wanted nothing to do with it, and you could understand why. It was a rough introduction to Hollywood, but it came with a hard lesson. Never do a movie like that again. Never lose control of your choices. Ridgemont High. She played Linda Barrett, confident, smart, slightly older, the friend every teenage girl wished they had, the one who already seemed to understand life. The cast was stacked. Sean Penn, Judge Reinhold, a young Nicolas Cage, but Phoebe would be the one people remembered, because of one scene. The pool, the red bikini, emerging from the water as moving in stereo plays, slow, calm, effortless. In seconds, it became iconic, burned into pop culture forever. Rolling Stone later called it the most memorable bikini moment in movie history, and they weren't exaggerating. But here's the thing, it wasn't cheap or exploitative. It wasn't just a teen fantasy shot. It was presence, confidence, control. The kind you can't fake, the kind you're born with. And in that moment, Phoebe Cates stopped being a model trying acting. She became a star. Phoebe would later laugh about that now famous topless scene. To her, it wasn't scandalous. It was funny. And that made all the difference. At just 17, she understood the tone of the movie. She trusted the director, Amy Heckerling. There was no pressure, no awkwardness, just a set that felt safe, and a role that felt right. Years later, she said something surprising. Fast Times was the most fun she ever had on a movie, and audiences could feel it, every second of it. When Fast Times at Ridgemont High hit theaters, it exploded. Not just a hit, a cultural moment. Overnight, Phoebe Cates became a household name, the face everyone recognized, the girl every teenage boy had a crush on, the girl every teenage girl wanted to be. Just like that, she wasn't up and coming anymore. She was an 80s icon. And Hollywood noticed fast. The offers poured in. The years that followed weren't quiet. They were non-stop. In 1983, she starred in the TV movie Baby Sister. Then came the teen comedy Private School, alongside Matthew Modine. It had the same mischievous energy as Fast Times, but this time Phoebe wasn't the newcomer. She was the selling point, the name on the poster. Studios knew something simple. Phoebe Cates put people in seats. She even stepped into music, recording 2 songs for the Private School soundtrack, Just One Touch and How Do I Let You Know. Acting, singing, comedy, drama. She was proving she could do it all, and she was just getting started. Then came 1984, the year when everything leveled up. First, she appeared in the television miniseries Lace, playing Lily Lace. Based on a best-selling novel, it quickly became appointment television. People talked about it the next day at work, quoted it, re-watched it. It became a phenomenon. Phoebe was so popular in the role she returned for Lace 2 the following year. But even that success was just a warm-up, because something much bigger was coming. Something iconic. Gremlins. Directed by Joe Dante, executive produced by Steven Spielberg. Even before release, expectations were high sky, and somehow it exceeded them. The film became one of the highest-grossing movies of 1984, and decades later, it's still a holiday classic. Phoebe played Kate Berenger, on paper just the girlfriend, the kind of role that disappears in most movies, the kind audiences forget. But Phoebe didn't let that happen.
She never played anything halfway. She gave Kate wit, warmth, personality, presence. Then came the monologue, the one nobody saw coming. Kate explaining why she hates Christmas, telling the story of finding her father's body stuck in the chimney after trying to surprise the family dressed as Santa. Dark, weird, funny, heartbreaking, all at once. In lesser hands, it would have felt ridiculous. With Phoebe, it landed perfectly. It became one of the most unforgettable scenes in the film, proof she could handle drama just as effortlessly as comedy. Gremlins grossed over $200 million worldwide, a monster hit in every sense. It even helped inspire the creation of the PG-13 rating. That's how big it was. Suddenly, Phoebe wasn't just the girl from Fast Times. She was a leading lady in a Spielberg production. Officially A-list, no question about it. But here's where things get interesting, because while Hollywood was chasing her, Phoebe was looking somewhere else. Back to her first love, the stage. In June 1984, she quietly made her off-Broadway debut in The Nest of the Woodgrouse at Joseph Papp's Public Theater. No red carpets, no splashy premieres, just pure acting, and she loved it. Later, she said something telling. Theater felt freer, more alive, more real. No retakes, no editing, just you, the audience, and the truth of the moment. Sink or swim. That immediacy thrilled her in a way film never quite did. 2 years later, she returned off-Broadway for Rich Relations. Then in 1989, she achieved something many actors only dream about.
Broadway, a revival of Paddy Chayefsky's The 10th Man, under the bright lights of the Vivian Beaumont Theater. For Phoebe, this wasn't a side project. This was the dream. In a 1988 interview, she admitted something few rising movie stars would ever say out loud. Film didn't offer many great roles for women. Theater did, plenty of them. And that's where she felt most fulfilled. Not chasing blockbusters, not chasing fame, chasing the craft. Which is fascinating in hindsight, because from the outside, it looked like she had Hollywood at her feet. Hit movies, magazine covers, money, fame. But inside, she wanted something deeper. The movies kept coming anyway, because success has momentum. In 1987, she starred in Date with an Angel, a fantasy romantic comedy, a charming idea that never quite found its audience. For the first time, not everything she touched turned to gold. And that was a sign, because the next chapter of her life wouldn't be about bigger roles, it would be about different choices. The training was brutal, the rivalry was relentless, but somehow Phoebe didn't just survive it, she thrived. Dance gave her something permanent, not just steps but discipline, not just movement but storytelling, not just practice but the obsession it takes to truly master a craft. And then, without warning, everything collapsed. A knee injury shattered those dreams before they ever had the chance to take flight. At just 13 years old, Phoebe stood at a crossroads she never expected to face. Her entire future suddenly felt uncertain. For someone so young, the loss must have been crushing. Dance wasn't a pastime. It wasn't just an after-school activity. It was who she was. And overnight, that identity disappeared. That's when an unexpected door quietly opened. Modeling entered her life almost by accident, but it didn't take long for people to notice. With striking features and an effortless presence in front of the camera, success found her fast. By 14, she wasn't just booking jobs, she was everywhere. 4 covers of 17, spreads in Elle, British Vogue, even Andy Warhol's Interview. Her look felt fresh, approachable, the perfect balance between girl-next-door warmth and high-fashion elegance. Editors loved her. Photographers couldn't get enough. From the outside, it looked like she had found her calling. But looks can lie. On paper, it was the dream career for a young girl from New York. In reality, it felt empty. Phoebe didn't hide how she felt. In interviews, she was blunt. Modeling taught her nothing. The same poses, the same routine, over and over. After a while, it wasn't passion anymore. It was just a paycheck. She wanted more than pretty pictures. She wanted substance, challenge, meaning. Modeling paid the bills, but it didn't feed her soul. Then came the moment that changed everything. At a party inside the legendary Studio 54, Phoebe met a film agent, a chance encounter that would redirect her entire life. Soon after, her first movie offer arrived, Paradise, a 1982 film clearly chasing the success of The Blue Lagoon. But the opportunity came with complications. The role required nudity, and at just 17, Phoebe hesitated. Unsure, she turned to her father for advice. His answer was blunt and practical. How do you say no to a lead role in a feature film? So, she said yes. From March to May 1981, she filmed in Israel, stepping into a world far different from magazine shoots. But when Paradise was released, it didn't soar, it stumbled. Critics dismissed it, audiences barely noticed. Years later, Phoebe admitted she regretted the experience. She claimed producers used a body double for certain scenes without telling her. She refused to promote the film. Her co-star Aiken said she wanted nothing to do with it. It wasn't the fairy tale start she imagined. It was messy, uncomfortable, disappointing. But it taught her something invaluable. Never make that kind of movie again. Luckily, redemption was right around the corner. Later that same year, a new script crossed her path. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, a small coming-of-age comedy that no one realized would become legendary. Phoebe played Linda Barrett, confident, sharp, and unforgettable. The cast was stacked with future stars: Sean Penn, Judge Reinhold, a young Nicolas Cage. But it was Phoebe who delivered the moment everyone would remember. Stepping out of the water in that red bikini set to moving in stereo, she created a piece of movie history. Rolling Stone would later call it the most iconic bikini scene ever filmed. And yet, somehow, it wasn't cheap or exploitative. It was playful, self-aware, funny. Phoebe later said that's exactly why it worked. She trusted the tone. She trusted the director, Amy Heckerling. And most importantly, she was having fun. In fact, she would later say it was the most fun she'd ever had on a set. Audiences agreed. The film exploded, and overnight Phoebe Cates became a household name. Every teenage boy had a crush on her, every teenage girl wanted to be her. Just like that, an icon was born. Critics weren't sure what they were watching. Some called it strange, others called it messy. But one thing was undeniable. Phoebe went all in. Her performance wasn't ironic or half-hearted. It was fearless, completely sincere. And that full commitment was the only reason Drop Dead Fred worked at all. In a movie that bizarre, anything less would have sunk it. Then came a quieter turn. In 1993, she appeared in Bodies Rest in Motion alongside Bridget Fonda and Tim Roth. No spectacle, no glamour, just a small, intimate indie film. A gentle character study about young people drifting through life, lost and searching for purpose. The kind of thoughtful movie that barely exists anymore. Phoebe matched that tone perfectly. Her performance was soft, understated, nuanced. Not flashy, just real. And it quietly proved how much range she truly had. The following year brought something completely different. A period piece, a mystery, a challenge. In 1994's Princess Caribou, Phoebe played a strange young woman claiming to be royalty from a distant land. The story was based on real events from 19th century England, and this time she didn't just play the role, she disappeared into it. She even invented an entire language for the character. Every sound, every word, every gesture. Total commitment. But despite all that effort, the film barely made a ripple. It arrived quietly, and it left even quieter. By now, something had clearly changed. The roles were still interesting, but the spaces between them were growing longer. Bigger gaps, longer pauses, as if she were slowly stepping away, one project at a time. Then came 2001. Not a comeback, not a blockbuster. Something much smaller, much more personal. Jennifer Jason Leigh, her Fast Times co-star and real-life friend, invited her to join the anniversary party. Jennifer wrote it, produced it, directed it. The film was shot in just 19 days with a handheld digital camera. Loose, intimate, almost documentary-like. It followed a couple hosting an anniversary party while their marriage secretly fell apart. The cast included Gwyneth Paltrow, John C. Reilly, and Jane Addams. But for Phoebe, the most important co-stars weren't famous at all. They were her kids. Both of her children appeared in the film alongside their parents in small roles. It wasn't just another job, it was family. And that made all the difference. working with an old friend, having her children on set, creating something small and heartfelt instead of feeding the Hollywood machine. It felt personal. It felt safe. It felt right. At the premiere, Phoebe opened up about the life she had chosen. Some people, she said, didn't understand why she stepped away from Hollywood, but she didn't regret it for a second. She loved her new life. She did everything herself. Cooking, cleaning, school runs, after-school activities, no entourage, no staff, no help except a housekeeper, as she jokingly admitted, because she absolutely hated cleaning. There was humor in her voice, but there was pride, too. She wasn't apologizing. She was celebrating. The anniversary party would become her final film role. She was only 38, an age when many actresses are just hitting their peak. But Phoebe wasn't chasing momentum anymore. She'd already made her decision, and this time, she didn't look back. She had spent decades in front of cameras, modeling since 14, acting through her 20s and 30s, fame, success, red carpets, applause. She had seen it all. And now, she wanted something else, something quieter, something real. She wanted to be present. Not a face on a poster, not a name on a call sheet, but a mother. A new dream was forming. For someone who grew up in the spotlight, walking away could have left an emptiness. But Phoebe had always known exactly what she wanted, and strangely enough, that dream wasn't another movie. It was something much simpler. A store, a neighborhood shop, a modern version of a general store she'd imagined for years. So in the fall of 2005, she opened Blue Tree. Not in Los Angeles, not in Hollywood, but on Madison Avenue in New York's Carnegie Hill, close to home, exactly where she wanted to be. The name came from her husband, Kevin. The idea was hers. She described it simply, a general store with surprises around every corner. But Blue Tree wasn't some celebrity vanity project. It wasn't a name slapped on a door. Phoebe was deeply involved in everything, every shelf, every item, every detail. She personally curated it all. Clothing, jewelry, antiques, perfume, candles, art, photography, books, vintage LPs, stuffed animals, tiny treasures and luxury pieces side by side, prices ranging from $25 to $25,000. The New York Times called it an oasis, a slice of downtown charm tucked into uptown Manhattan. But what truly makes Blue Tree special isn't what's on the shelves, it's who's behind the counter. Because more often than not, it's Phoebe herself, greeting customers, helping them pick gifts, styling outfits. Smiling like this, not Hollywood, was exactly where she belonged. Sometimes the funniest moments happen when people don't recognize her. Customers walk into Blue Tree, glance twice, and say she looks just like Phoebe Cates. She just smiles, then shrugs it off and jokes, "Yeah, I get that a lot." No ego, no correction, just quiet humor. That grounded, down-to-earth charm is exactly what built Blue Tree's loyal following. Not celebrity, not nostalgia, but personality. And over time, that little neighborhood shop grew into something bigger than anyone expected. Locals love it, tourists seek it out, fans travel from around the world just to step inside. Because the store reflects everything Phoebe values: creativity, craftsmanship, originality, connection. It isn't about mass production, it isn't about chasing trends, it's about discovering beautiful, meaningful things and sharing them with people who appreciate them. In many ways, it's the complete opposite of modeling. That world felt repetitive, disposable, empty. This one feels personal, intentional, real. And nearly 20 years later, Blue Tree is still thriving, not surviving, thriving. Proof that her vision worked. Proof that walking away didn't mean disappearing. She didn't fade out. She built something lasting, something meaningful, something entirely hers. While Phoebe stepped away from the spotlight, her family quietly flourished. Kevin Kline never slowed down. His career stretched across decades, an Oscar for Efficient Wanda, 3 Tony Awards, countless films, nearly 50 years of steady work.
But through it all, family always came first. And their children? They carved their own creative paths. Owen Klein stepped into film. He appeared in the critically acclaimed The Squid and the Whale. Then in 2022, he made his director's debut with Funny Pages, a dark, offbeat, coming-of-age comedy that premiered at Cannes. Not chasing blockbusters, not chasing fame, just telling the kinds of indie stories he believes in, forging his own lane. Greta chose music instead, performing under the name Frankie Cosmos. Singer, songwriter, storyteller, she released multiple albums and built a devoted indie rock following. Her songs are intimate, personal.
The kind that feel like secrets whispered through headphones. Different paths, same creative spirit. Clearly, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. At the 2024 Toronto International Film Festival, Kevin made rare comments about their marriage. First, he joked. He said if a Hollywood marriage lasts longer than 6 months, you should already be in the Guinness Book of World Records. The crowd laughed. Then he got serious. He said Phoebe has her head on her shoulders, unlike him. And most of the time, he joked, his head is resting on hers. He called her a great wife, a great mother, a great person, the one who keeps him honest. And you could hear it in his voice. Not publicity, not performance, just gratitude. Together, living quietly in Manhattan, far from the Hollywood circus, they built something show business rarely sees anymore. Stability, longevity, a real partnership. In September 2024, they celebrated 35 years of marriage. 35. In Hollywood terms, that's practically forever. Kevin even joked that living in New York instead of Los Angeles explains why neither of them has Botox. These are our lips, he laughed. What's left of them? It's classic Phoebe and Kevin. Funny, self-aware, unpretentious. So what's left of her career? What's the lasting impact? Phoebe Cates hasn't appeared in a film in over 20 years. Not a cameo, not a comeback tour, nothing. Well, almost nothing. In 2015, she briefly returned to voice Kate in the LEGO Dimensions video game. A small nod to Gremlins. A tiny door left slightly open. So maybe, just maybe, the right project could bring her back. Something meaningful, something personal. But she's not waiting for the phone to ring, and she's definitely not missing the life she left behind. Because her legacy is already secure. Gremlins still plays every Christmas. New generations still discover Kate's darkly funny monologue. Fast Times at Ridgemont High is still considered one of the greatest teen comedies ever made. A movie that captured adolescence honestly, instead of sugarcoating it. And that pool scene? Love it or roll your eyes at it, it's movie history, forever iconic. But maybe her greatest legacy isn't a scene or a role at all. Maybe it's the life she chose. In an industry obsessed with staying visible, with staying famous, with never stepping away, Phoebe defined success differently. She worked when she wanted to work. She stopped when she wanted to stop. No drama, no comeback strategy, just choice. She raised her kids, built a business she loves, stayed married to the same man for decades, created a life that actually made her happy. And there's something powerful about that. Because we live in a culture that treats stepping away like failure, like disappearing equals losing, like fame is the only thing that matters. Phoebe quietly proved the opposite. Success doesn't always mean more. Sometimes it means enough. Different lives, different definitions, different kinds of happiness. And today, at 61, Phoebe isn't chasing the spotlight. She's exactly where she wants to be. Standing behind the counter at Blue Tree, greeting customers, sharing treasures, living the life she chose, not the life Hollywood expected. And somehow, that might be the happiest ending of all. These days, her world is smaller, and that's exactly how she likes it. She spends her time with Kevin, now 77, who still works regularly but always returns home to their Upper East Side apartment at night. No Hollywood parties, no endless premieres, just home. She watches her children chase their own creative dreams. 2 artists, 2 independent spirits, Two lives unfolding on their own terms. And Phoebe is right there for all of it. Not on red carpets, not giving press tours, not posting curated updates online. In fact, she doesn't even have social media. No Instagram, no Twitter, no constant stream of "look at me." In an era built on oversharing, that kind of privacy feels almost rebellious, almost radical, almost impossible. But for Phoebe, it's intentional. It's peace. Her longtime friend Jennifer Jason Leigh probably said it best. They've known each other for more than 40 years, practically a lifetime in Hollywood terms. During a 2018 conversation for Interview magazine, Jennifer remembered meeting Phoebe for the first time. She said she instantly knew this was someone she wanted to be around, because Phoebe was funny, sharp, smart, savvy, and as she joked, a little bit evil. Not naive, not starstruck, not just another pretty face. A real personality, a real presence. And decades later, that description still fits. Because Phoebe Cates was never just the girl from a teen movie. She wasn't a poster, she wasn't a fantasy. She was, and still is, entirely her own person. So what actually happened to Phoebe Cates? Here's the truth. Nothing happened to her. She didn't disappear. She didn't crash. She wasn't pushed out. If anything, Hollywood happened to her. She showed up, made her mark, created iconic roles, and then calmly walked away on her own terms. No scandal, no meltdown, no tragic downfall. Just a choice, a simple, deliberate choice. She wasn't forgotten by the industry. She wasn't struggling to find work. She didn't run out of opportunities. She simply realized something most people in Hollywood never admit. Being a full-time mother made her happier. Running a small boutique fulfilled her more. A quiet life meant more than another close-up ever could. And maybe that's the most 80s thing about her. That era was full of people who hit the top and then just left. No desperate comebacks, no squeezing every last drop of fame, no obsession with staying relevant. They succeeded, then they moved on. They lived. Phoebe did the same. She gave us unforgettable moments on screen. Linda Verrett, Kate Berenger, characters that still live rent-free in pop culture decades later. Moments people rewind, scenes people still talk about. But maybe what she gave us off-screen matters even more. An example. Proof that you don't have to chase fame forever. Proof that you're allowed to choose happiness instead. Proof that walking away isn't losing, it's deciding. Because success isn't always louder. Sometimes it's quieter. Not more attention, more contentment. Not more money, more meaning. Not more visibility, more peace. Phoebe understood that, and she had the courage to act on it, even when Hollywood was still calling, even when the spotlight was still warm, even when most people would have clung to it. That's not a cautionary tale. That's not a tragedy. That's clarity. That's confidence. That's someone who knew herself well enough to build exactly the life she wanted. And honestly, what could be better than that? If you enjoyed learning about Phoebe Cates and the remarkable life she built beyond Hollywood, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the stars you grew up watching and still wonder about today.